Hi, my name is Eliana Tallant, and today's documentary will be on race records and their impact during the 1920s. So, you may be asking yourself, what are race records and where did they begin? The brief definition of race records is a phonograph record that was made for and marketed towards African American audiences from the 1920s to the 1940s. These records included blues, jazz, and gospel music, and they were sold in segregated markets. During this time, American society was entirely segregated: restrooms, buses, restaurants, and so on. This included music and entertainment. Because recording equipment was expensive and awkwardly large, combined with the discrimination during this time, the avenues for black musicians were very narrow. Crazy Blues by Mamie Smith was recorded by Oka Records. Mamie Smith made history, selling over 75,000 records in its first month. In this dying market, this was unheard of, so the record labels took notice of this. They began signing and recording black artists. And if you think this sounds too good to be true, that's because it is. While it was amazing that black musicians were being recorded and recognized for their music and their talent, record labels were taking advantage of this marginalized community, signing them in contracts that paid them significantly less than their white counterparts. A few facts to know about race records are that black audiences were finally being represented in the music market. Black Americans previous to the 1920s were not recognized in the music industry at all, meaning they weren't marketed towards either. So when race records became a thing, a marginalized community was finally able to purchase the art and music that they were previously only able to listen to at live performances. But many black artists were given pseudonyms that downplayed their race, or their names were left out completely, giving the recording labels the ability to take the rights of the music, making millions off of these black artists while paying them very little or nothing at all. And the artists were incapable of creating a career outside of the recording company because nobody knew their name. Another fact is that race records remained popular through the 20s and into the Great Depression. Despite the Second World War and the Great Depression, race records remained a stable industry with a consistent audience. A really sad fact, though, is that because black communities were not the ones selling the records and they had no control over how they were advertised, the record labels represented black Americans poorly in their race record advertisements, pointing jokes at them and using their insecurities to help further advertise other companies such as skin lightening treatments. The image shown on the screen is just one example of what an ad for a skin whitener would look like. It's important to recognize the people that were influential during the time of the race records. People like Mamie Smith, Duke Ellington, Jelly Roll Morton, Bessie Smith, and Ma Rainey had a lasting impact on race records. Some more information about Mamie Smith is that she was brought into the Oka studio to record the songs That Thing Called Love and You Can't Keep a Good Man Down. They did so well that the Oka Records decided to go forward and record Crazy Blues, which marked the start of race records history. Duke Ellington had early recordings that were issued under race record labels that targeted black consumers. His performances at the Cotton Club that were broadcasted worldwide helped race record audiences expand toward the mainstream. Jelly Roll Morton recorded extensively for Victor Records, which included significant race record releases. His Red Hot Peppers recordings were marketed as a part of the race record catalog because they featured black jazz musicians performing New Orleans-style jazz. He contributed to defining what jazz sounded like within the race record market. Groundbreaking jazz artists became best-selling race record artists. Bessie Smith, also known as the Empress of the Blues, was a best-selling artist who made Columbia Records millions of dollars, though she often was not paid royalties due to the exploitative practices. And Ma Rainey, also known as the Mother of the Blues, was an influential and a best-selling blues pioneer. So where did race records go, and why don't we hear about them? Post-war America had a decline in the market for record labels. Larger companies absorbed smaller race record label companies to capitalize on the black artists. The rise of the radio was also leading to a major decline in record labels. But in the end, race records did not entirely go away. They were renamed to rhythm and blues, also known as R&B. The true reason for this was because the word race drove white communities away from the music, so coining the name R&B made it more palatable to white communities, which gave the record companies an even bigger opportunity to make money off of the black musicians and artists. To this day, black artists are fighting for higher royalty rates and fighting against exploitative contracts. For example, Chance the Rapper and Megan Thee Stallion speak outwardly about the unfair treatment to black musicians in the music industry.